Hi there, and welcome to the Sage Goddess 2020 Imbolc Ceremony and Ritual. I'm so excited to welcome you to what is really, if you've been with me for a while, you know I love Imbolc because what it means is winter's almost over. We are almost through the season of the longest nights, the coldest days. Now, there's great medicine in winter that you have to appreciate. And even me as a double fire sign, I've really learned to appreciate the medicine of slowing it down, letting things be, letting my own energy rest, letting my spirit rest, and not feeling the need to overdo it. You know, the winter's really the only time you can feel like you have the excuse to not move as quickly, not create as much, not express as much, not manifest as much. This isn't really the time for all of that. Underneath the surface, there's a lot going on, right? Like you're still setting monthly intentions at the new moon. I'm creating new things, but it's not visible. A lot of what I'm creating right now is sort of behind the scenes, setting the stage, building a foundation. Same for you, I'm sure. And so what tonight is all about is honoring what we call a cross-quarter holiday. It's also referred to as a lesser Sabbath. Some people prefer or refer to it as a lower or lesser holiday. I think that kind of gives it short shrift. I think it's actually a really significant holiday, but in terms of the wheel of the year, it marks the exact midpoint between the seasons, between winter and spring here in the Northern Hemisphere. And remember, our brothers and sisters down south are turning the wheel in an entirely different direction, right? So, because they're on the reverse side of the wheel. So this is a Northern Hemisphere really focused ceremony tonight. Although I think that those of you who are in the south, if you're doing any work on the inner fire, because that's what tonight's really all about. If you're doing work on the inner fire, on transmutation, and on preparation for new projects, new creations, new experiences in your life, then I think tonight's ceremony still has a lot of value and worth because ultimately we share the same planet. You know, it's one love, one energy, even if we are honoring it at different points and in different ways. So everyone is welcome. Okay, if you bought your tools, then you have this. And what we're doing, this is a single ceremonial mat that we're going to be using for 3 holidays, which is kind of cool. So, instead of buying one mat for every single high holiday, you've got one that's going to cover 3. So we're going to be working with the bottom third tonight. This is Gabriel's beautiful art, by the way, which represents winter, Imbolc, really, the end of winter, spring, Beltane. So at Imbolc, this is when, your inner goddess, she's been hibernating, but she's starting to feel that rise of the Kundalini. She's starting to feel an itch. She's ready to leave the center of the earth and emerge forward towards something new. She's ready for that. And so this is you right now. You are grounding. You notice her left hand is in the earth and her fingers stretch down like roots. And so, you're all at once, connected, tethered. And remember, all of this is you. Ultimately, right? All of us are tethered and grounded, I hope, right? I imagine. But we all also have this sort of like mirrored essence of ourselves, which is, she's the Beltane goddess. She's fire and expansion and expression and manifestation, right? So this is almost 2 sides of you. And what happens at springtime, at the vernal equinox, is these 2 goddesses join forces. They merge forces. And so it combines all of this fiery Imbolc essence, which is a holiday really that honors Bridget, who's the Celtic goddess of the fire. So it's honoring all that Bridget energy, unites the 2 here, and then they combust, Beltane, in a beautiful fire. So tonight we're working the medicine of the bottom of the mat, just to show you what the tools look like and how to be planning. So, if it's possible, if you have the space, set that mat up where you can just go back to it now at the spring equinox and at Beltane. You don't have to take it down and put it back up and take it down and put it back up if you have space. That's just going to make it easier for you, and it's also going to build the excitement, because with each holiday and then the tools that come with it, you can start to build out the mat, and it really starts to look like a grid of all this beautiful earth and water and fire medicine. So your tools this month included this agate disc, which is a charging disc. Agate is both for protection and loving kindness. And so it balances, again, those energies between winter and spring. So what I want you to do is place this over her hand on the mat. And I'll show you, I'll kind of bring the camera down slightly so you can see that the disc goes over the mat, right? So it almost looks like it's just a direct line over her hand. And then what we're going to do is take our bottle and we're going to fill it. We're going to make sacrament, which is a combination of stones, herbs, and oils. And then we're going to place the candle together on top, representing Bridget's flame. And then we're going to light it and let the wax melt down over our bottle and keep that on the disc where that will be charged with those energies of connection and kindness. Okay, the items going into your bottle tonight, if you have the tools, this is what's there. If you want, you're welcome to use your own tools or to add additional tools from your own collection that might resonate with you or that, you know, kind of connect with the metaphysical properties or that make this more specific to you. You know, if you have an herb that you always put in everything or an oil that is kind of your signature, then that should go in here. It will heighten the magic of the work that you do. So in your herb pouch is angelica, chamomile, white sage, and cedar. Angelica is deeply protective, and it is angelic. It represents the energy of the angels and archangels. And then your chamomile is for everything winter, softness and relaxation and a good night's sleep. And for me, chamomile is very maternal. It's very nurturing. It's very loving. It settles your stomach. Like it just feels like a motherly, grandmotherly sort of touch. But then you've got Salvia apiana in here, which is one of the most protective clearing herbs you can possibly work with. And that's because part of what we're doing tonight is preparing the space for what isn't here yet, right? Imbolc means in the belly in Gaelic. Everything's pregnant in nature right now. Everything is pregnant, meaning it's creating a space for what is about to grow, what is about to emerge. And that's why your perfume in the kit is called Emergence. And emergence, the notes in emergence are amber, balsam of Peru, and then benzoin styrax with pine. And so your amber is for wisdom and lineage healing. Your Peru balsam is very healing. It's anti-inflammatory. It really helps to settle and sort of align the central nervous system and prepare you for ceremonial work. Benzoin styrax is a little bit of an aphrodisiac. It's a member of the amber family too, and it really does, it dries down to a very sort of powdery, soothing, but very sensual scent. This is one of my favorite perfumes that we've made in the last couple of months. I really, really love it and hope you have too. And then pine, again, kindness, strength, compassion, generosity with pine, both for you to give to other people and for you to attract back to yourself in the season ahead. So that's everything. Those are all of your tools. And then you have 3 different chipstones that you're going to be adding. You can add as many as you want or as few as you want. Again, if you want to save some of your tools for other projects, other crafts, you can totally do that and just add a little bit here for the energy. More isn't always better. Your stones are amazonite, which is this one right here. This is the ultimate throat chakra stone. And I love thinking about throat chakra at Imbolc. Because winter is hibernation, it's not really expression, right? So we're like, maybe you're not holding it all in, but you're probably not as expressive as you usually are. And then Imbolc is this bridge to the season of birth, right? You can't birth without expressing. And so, at least if you birthed like I did, there's a lot of expression. Birthing is a difficult process. I mean, I'm laughing, but I also want you to know that the season ahead is birth, and birth comes after labor. And labor is the hardest work really a woman ever does in her biological cycles. Labor is intense, right? It's pounds and pounds and pounds of pressure, both on her body and on the child's body, for all of nature, right? And so that metaphor of just contracting on and placing pressure on, that's kind of what you should be feeling right now. And so if you're feeling, in all seriousness, if you've been feeling like, God, I just feel like it's like pressure on me, think about where you are in nature. We talk about nature all the time, right? Like, oh, we should follow nature and nature will help us understand where we're supposed to be. I think we say that more than we actually understand what that means. At Imbolc, everything in your life is contracting on you in a big way because it's about to push you out. Now, it can't push you out on a pillow. Do you know what I mean? It's going to kick you out on your rump. Because that's what happens in nature. but you're ready for it. I mean, the other reality is every baby survives, and even though it's an uncomfortable process, they get through it, they move on, and many times they go on to do it themselves, right? So these are the cycles of nature and time. But life isn't always gentle, right? And it labors on us, it contracts on us, so that by the time we expel from the cocoon, we're ready to take on that next new adventure. So amazonite, luxilionite, which is for graceful emergence. It's like a labor stone. It's like helping you come out of the cocoon as tenderly and gingerly as you can, given the realities of what labor really represents. And then last but not least, these are all colors of fluorite, which is one of my favorite stones. Fluorite, it really does come in almost the entire rainbow, especially if you look across the board into Chinese fluorite as well as Argentinian fluorite, Mexican fluorite. You'll almost find the entire spectrum. And fluorite, they call the Dharma stone because fluorite's really important for helping you understand your purpose. Why are you here? Why did you reincarnate? Why did you come back? And then also, how will you know if you're on task and on purpose in your life? Fluorite really helps you answer that question. So many people ask me all the time, how do I know if I'm doing the right thing, if I'm in the right place, in the right relationship? How do I know if I'm excelling by the universe's standards? And so fluorite is a stone you can meditate with and then ask the universe to sort of gently guide you in the directions where you need to go. And that, again, that's Imbolc medicine for sure. So those are our herbs, our oils, our tools. The last thing you got in your kit was a pendulum. And if you didn't get your kit, but you have a pendulum, go and get it. We are going to ask 2 really important questions tonight. And I always use my pendulum to answer yes and no questions. And then once I ask a yes or no question, then I meditate, even just for sometimes just a few minutes. And if the answer from the pendulum is yes, then I ask for clarification. Okay, so tell me more about what that yes means. If the answer from the pendulum is no, then I also ask for clarification. Okay, so show me what no means, and listen. So we're going to practice that together tonight, and then my hope is you will fall in love with your pendulum and learn to use it for divination in other parts of your life too. It's always good, especially sometimes I like to use it for affirmation. When I'm doing readings, I will just let it kind of spin. My students have seen me do this, because usually if I'm misinterpreting the guides in some way, they'll tell me no. And then I will sort of listen and tune in and check in, and then I'll reinterpret or re-articulate, and then it'll say yes. So it becomes a nice way of validating your intuitive senses as well. Okay. This morning in meditation, I channeled a little poem for Imbolc that I thought I would share with you. And it just kind of came through me. I am a poet and a writer by training. I love writing. I love channeling and sort of expressing Spirit's voice through writing. So it's a very simple, short poem, but I hope you enjoy it. And I'm going to read it for you now. And you can just take a nice deep breath to settle in and receive that energy. Sit with what is hard and cold, for it will soften and thaw soon. Now the work is to discern what from these things we may learn. Isn't that sweet? It's very short, very simple, very to the point. But the work now isn't to try to fix anything, change anything, advance anything, solve anything. The work now is to discern. What are we learning? What are we supposed to be learning? What is the message, or what is the ultimate guidance, right, that we're meant to receive from this season, and in particular from the things that are hard right now or that aren't soft, the things that might be giving you resistance or not going the way you wish that they would. Wintertime can be a medicine of learning how really to surrender. It's sort of like when you get snowed in and you can't go anywhere. What are you going to do? I mean, it's not like you can go, well, I'm still going to go out. And that's how she teaches, right? Same things when we have really crazy rains and storms here, the same thing happens. Like, you can go out, but you're best to stay in. That's kind of the mantra of winter, for me anyway. Okay, and I'm going to drum for you just a little bit tonight after we do our pendulum and we just sort of sit and wait and receive the answers. I'm going to drum for you just a little bit. So I thought you might enjoy that. Sometimes you like it when I drum. So now we're going to smudge just a tiny bit with some beautiful white sage and rose medicine. Yeah, we're crossing a threshold tonight. We're crossing a threshold tonight between seasons. And it's an important threshold. But you know, thresholds are portals, right? And so it's also important to keep the energy light and clear and moving when we're in these liminal spaces, these in-between spaces between seasons. So keep it clear. Try to clear your mind. Put your mind at ease. And the best way to keep your mind at ease is just to be here now. If you know, the reason everybody says be here now and oh, mindfulness this and mindfulness that, if you've ever wondered why, it's actually a great question. Like, why do people always say, oh, be here now? It's really hard to have anxiety, think about it, if you're really present. Like right now, my life, if I had to assess it from this absolute moment, is perfect. I mean, I have some kombucha, my stomach is full from lunch, I have beautiful things around me, the temperature is comfortable, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. There's nowhere in the world really I'd rather be than sitting here with you. You know, my body is healthy and comfortable. Like, if I had to judge my life by the quality of this moment, I would have to say that my life is absolutely perfect. But nobody judges their life by the quality of this moment. They judge it by everything from the past and then all their projected concerns about the future. So tonight, Imbolc seems like a really great opportunity to remind you that if you have anxiety or stress or depression, it's mostly because you're living in the past or you're living in the future. The past isn't coming back, and the future you have no control and really no accurate insight into. You know, it's like 95% of our fears never manifest, right? Not in the way, and 99% of them don't manifest in the way we think they're going to. So knowing all of that, just take this next half hour with me just to experiment with being fully present at this liminal space moment between the seasons, which is such a doorway for you anyway, right? It really is an invitation. Like, can you do this? Can you practice just being here with me, being here with what we're doing, and not thinking about anything before this moment and not also projecting out into the future? The more you can practice that, and I really mean practice, because I don't think it's truly natural for anybody to fully be in the moment. We're human. You know, it's a natural inclination for all of us to be like 3 steps ahead, 4 steps back all the time. I shoulda, woulda, coulda, and then what if I, you know, should I in the future too? Okay, so I want to go ahead and open our circle. I want to invite you to roll your shoulders back, call your energy into present time. Take a nice deep breath. And then put your hands on your knees with your palms facing up so you're in a good receptive position for energy to flow. And I want you to imagine that out of your left hand extends the most beautiful beam of divine white light. And I want you to imagine that that beam of light fills your whole palm of your hand. And I like to give it a temperature. I like to imagine that it's warm, and you could give it a texture if you want to. And just let that beam of light extend out of your left hand. Feel your hand get warm as you imagine that. And let it extend out of your left hand and wind itself clockwise all the way around our beautiful circle tonight. Our circle represents everyone who is here in this moment as we're together, and also everyone who will watch this at another time and space, crossing bodies of water and continents and time. And when that energy comes back to you, it'll come back to you in your right hand, and I want you to just feel it as it comes back through. And then once you have the entire circle held in both of your hands, I want you to really imagine receiving that light. Letting it come into your right hand and up your right arm, over your shoulder, and then let it run through that central column of your chakras, your central channel, your central nervous system, as we call it in Muggle speak. And just let that light bathe you. Like, let it come in, feel the sense of connection and unconditional love. You know, this is a very powerful, like I said, evening of just recognizing that there's always hope, there's always possibility, there's always potential. Even though we are in the depths of winter right now, what tonight reminds you is you're also right on the doorstep of spring. And it depends on how you look at it. It's glass half empty or glass, half full, as with everything in life. So I want to reach out and begin to open our circle and call in the guardians of the 4 gateways. At the start of the year, it always feels so beautiful to do this because the energetic landscape is still so open and fresh, and we're really imagining things into creation together this new year, this new decade. So I want to call in first the guardians of the Eastern Gateway, beautiful guardians of air. Tonight we call upon you to open our circle and also to open this gateway to growth for 2020. We're so excited to welcome a new season in just a few weeks and to close the door to winter behind us. And guardians of the East, we call upon you to bring in energies of air and spaciousness, the breath of life and love into our space tonight, helping us to envision new possibilities as we finish out these weeks of hibernation and rest. And we give thanks for the guardians of the East. And then to the beautiful guardians of the South, the Fire Gateway, guardians of transformation, guardians also of courage and of mystery and of grounding. And guardians of the South, we call upon you tonight to help us honor that fire of Bridget that burns within all of us, the fire that we honor tonight at Candlemas at Imbolc. And on this sacred night between seasons, help us to tend that inner fire with grace and with gratitude. Help us to remember that even though our creations are not expressed yet outwardly, that we can still build and imagine and vision within to create firm foundations for the beautiful experiences and creations and relationships that we're going to move into and experience in the year ahead. We welcome the guardians of the South into ceremony space. And guardians of the West, we welcome you tonight, water medicine, to help us flow into the season ahead with grace. Help us to feel the gratitude for all that's happened so far in wintertime. All of the rest and the grounding and the releasing and the gratitude that we've been expressing during this season of winter in the north. And help us to move gracefully toward the next season, a season that can be full of renewal and healing and blessings for all of us. We welcome the guardians of the West. And guardians of the North, we welcome you, guardians of presence and patience and peacefulness, guardians of stillness and slow-moving energies that remind us of the blessings of standing still, the blessings of not rushing, of slowing down and easing in. Feels so good still to be in your embrace, guardians of the North. And we give thanks for your presence and welcome you into ceremony space this evening. And with that, our beautiful wheel, our circle is open. All of the gateways are open and the guardians are tending. Amen, I hope, and so it is. Okay, so our circle is open. We are ready to begin. I want you to get your bottle, if you would. And one of the things, it's super optional. You don't have to do this, but I'm finding increasingly that I like to do it, is get a very small leaf of white sage. You do not need much, literally like even half a leaf will do. You want enough so that you can light it safely and not hurt yourself. And take your white sage, light it, blow it out, and I'm going to actually just put the whole leaf into the bottle. You're welcome to do that too. Watch that smoke, you guys. Do you see that? Did you see that dance down that bottle? Wasn't that beautiful? Wow. I'm so glad we caught that on camera. It looked like a little bead of pearly smoke. It was really sexy, wasn't it? Okay, so now we have, our bottle is clear. Just blow your breath. You know, your breath is one of your most important magical tools because it's your life force. And so anything that you blow your breath upon with intention really has a blessing from you that no one else can provide to it. And your breath has a vibration, it has a frequency. If you're ever in plant ceremony, sometimes you can see your breath and the effect that your breath has on everything that you touch. It's one of the reasons why kissing is so sacred and so intimate, is that you're exchanging saliva and your breath. So two of your most potent forms of your life force are being exchanged. So in many ways, it's always funny, but in many ways, kissing is more intimate than any other form of human connection. It's interesting, isn't it? Okay, next, we're going to take our pouch of herbs. I love thinking about things like that, you know, like how you, because so many of us think, you know, that unless we do very concrete things that you can see, that we're not having an impact on our tools. But you can't see your breath, can't see your saliva, and you can add your saliva in here if you want to. Let's not talk about other forms of life force. Let's keep that clean. Okay, so now I've burned a little white sage, but let's now add the other herbs. So this is our chamomile, our white sage, our cedar, and our angelica. Angelica I love. It is so protective. I don't know if you saw the angel wings perfume that I made, which was angelica and palo santo, because they're two of my favorite smelling essential oils too. But that really is, I feel like angelica is literally like an angel coming and floating in on her wings and protecting and saving you. Okay, so I'm going to add my herbs in, and as we do, I'm going to call in the blessings of these 4 sacred plant medicines, which they really are. I want to give thanks to the mother plants that yielded these beautiful herbs and flowers. I want to honor the wisdom of these plants that they bring forward. I want to call in blessings for these plants in all places where they grow around the world. Help us to be in good relationship with the energies that you bring. Help us to make a good home for all of the beauty that you offer. Amen, aho, and so it is. And then I just use my breath between, you know, as between steps. Okay. If you want to put all of your herbs in, you can. If you want to reserve some of them for another purpose, you can do that too. I'm going to put all of my stuff in, and I'll tell you why. I really use my sacraments. I work with what's in here. So after you burn your candle down and the wax, you get the wax down the bottle, then you can open it and you can work with it. It's just been blessed with the element of fire and the beeswax. I work with sacraments as a blessing. So if I'm out and I'm picking herbs, I put a little bit of sacrament down. If I'm doing healing ceremony in a house, I will put some of the sacrament around the door. There's just a lot of ways to work with that. I work with it as an incense, you know, for whatever the metaphysical properties are of what that is. So this one is emergence, right? This one is about coming out of the darkness and into the light. This one is also about hope. If you think about it, that winter goddess on your mat, she could choose not to extend her hand, right? Right? Sometimes I think some of us feel like, I don't want to, you know, I'm too weak, I'm too tired, I'm giving up. She's being bold and strong by extending that hand. That's an act of faith, is to reach up in the darkness, from the darkness, and say, I know that there's magic up ahead, and I'm gonna stay grounded. I'm gonna keep my roots solid and steady, but I'm gonna reach up and find that essence of that transformation. And that's my hope for tonight for you. I mean, I hope what you're feeling is a little bit inspired to take on some of that strength, you know, to say, yes, you know, yes, what I'm going through right now is tough. And yes, the road has been hard, but, you know, that's your spirit. That's in you. Because you know as well as I do that you're here for a very important reason. I don't know what your reason is, but it's important, or you wouldn't be here. So that's why you got to go, my reason's important. I know it's important. That's what tonight's all about. Aho to that. So now I'm going to put amazonite in here. And remember, amazonite's throat chakra, articulating your truth, living your authentic truth, being bold. Let me tell you something. Nobody needs people who aren't bold anymore. All done with that. We can't, you know, we have to live boldly. Sometimes people may not like what you do or what you say or what you think or whatever. You need to live. You need to express, and you need to be authentic. That's what most of this planetary ascension process is about you becoming you. It's the hardest thing to do. It takes you your whole life to become you. But the longer you wait, the longer it's going to take, right? So let's fire up the engines tonight. What are you waiting for? I mean, if you don't kick your own butt right now, a little bit tonight, the end of 2020 will be here before you know it. How fast did 2019 go? I mean, for me, I was like, my head spun a little bit. So I wanna, you know, give you a gentle nudge this evening toward authenticity, because this needs to be the year that you're gonna do it. If you haven't done it already, and if you've already done it, then high five and on you go. This is Luxillionite, emergence with grace. I will take all of that. Thank you very much. And then this is fluorite. Purpose, dharma, clarity, service, health, intuition, connection with God. Yes, please. We'll take all of that. Now, this is just your base. One thing I want to tell you is we're going to add your emergence perfume to this, but this is not going to fill the bottle. What I recommend that you do is fill your bottle with olive oil. And the reason I recommend olive oil is olive is sacred to Athena, so it is one of my favorite oils. It's good for your hair, it's good for your skin, it's good for your food, it's good for everything. It's just really, it's even good for your heart. But olive oil actually really represents this time of year as well. Olives also represent prosperity and abundance, but deeply, deeply, deeply represent wisdom. And so it will extend, if you add olive oil to this, it will change the scent of it slightly. I love this smell of olive oil, so I don't mind it. Alternatively, you could fill this with jojoba oil. You could fill it with sweet almond oil if you like that better. Rosehip seed oil would be another really beautiful option for you. Or if you have another carrier oil beyond that that you prefer, then you definitely can choose to play with what you want to include. But I do recommend filling it with oil, which will create more sacrament for you to use, especially if you're like me and you actually do use it for lots of different things, including incense and sacred offerings and so forth. Okay, and then the oils in your emergence perfume, let's take a moment and anoint with that, shall we? I need to smell this perfume. It's one of my favorites of the last 6 months. This is Emergence. Beautiful and sexy and dark it is. Emergence is amber, attar from India. And then that pine. So it's amber pine, balsam of Peru, and styrax, which is considered a member of the amber family. It's sort of what we use for amber because we can't use ambergris, right? If you don't think that's sexy, then I would really like to know why. I'm like over here turning myself on just a little bit. Okay, so a little bit at your wrists, or a lot at your wrists if you're like me and you really like it, a little bit at your third eye for what you know, and then at your ankles for where you go, blessing your steps, blessing your path. All right, now I, like I said, love this, and so I'm going to use quite a bit. I'm not going to use the whole thing because I do want to save just a little bit for smelling amazing. I love perfuming. I mean, I am a near addict, and I will tell you, I have always been. My mom would tell you the same thing. We used to go to antique stores when I was little, and if I was really, really good, I could have, you know, I mean, not an expensive one, but like a little bottle of antique perfume from the store. And I still to this day have the collection of, you know, Evening in Paris and some of the little tiny, tiny little, they weren't full or anything. They were little antique vintage bottles that were empty, but they meant so much to me. And then smelling it and just the residue of these old scents and imagining who had that bottle and what she might have looked like and who might have gifted it to her. So I've always been really just enamored with perfume in general. I think a lot of you are like that too. It brings back really sweet, beautiful memories. That smells amazing. Take a minute and be with that. Isn't that amazing? Okay. Life force goes in. Now, I want you to set an intention for your work with this medicine from now until the spring equinox, which is not a long period of time, right? It's 6 weeks. Can you believe it? Till we're going to be knocking on spring's door. What is your intention? How are you emerging in your life? What does your emergence in 2020 look like? How is it different from your emergence last year? What were you emerging out of it this time last year? Can you remember? It's kind of fun sometimes to track back. That'll help you understand what you're emerging into this time. And then take a couple of deep inhales, because when you do that, you'll form what's called a scent association. And so every time you smell this, it'll remind you you're emerging, you're becoming, you've got one hand down, but you've got that other hand up, and you are climbing and allowing and surrendering, right? Okay. Now, I want you to place your bottle onto your agate slice, charging it up with those energies of agate, which are, like I said, loving kindness, protection, beauty. Agate is one of my favorite stones. Agate goes back all the way to the Bible. If you read Crystal Lore, my history book on crystals, then you know about agate. But it's really one of my favorites. Kind of covers all the bases. I like stones sometimes that are multi-purpose like that. Now let's light our candle. And what I would recommend you do, you don't have to burn the whole candle now. Like, I won't be able to stay with this long enough tonight to let the whole thing burn down. So after tonight, continue to burn it a little at a time until it has melted down over the bottle. And I gave you this agate slice so that you would burn this on this, because it'll catch some of the wax if anything drips over the side, right? It's beautiful, but it's practical too. That's the reason you have that there. And then once the wax has dripped over, then you can pull open the top of the wax over the lid of the bottle, and add additional items to it if you want, or use it, of course, to pour it out. But try to wait till all of your wax has come down. Okay, for the second part, now that we have set our space here, I'm gonna, whenever you do crafting, if you spill some of your herbs, take them and put them in the bottom of your abalone shell. Try not to ever, throw away herbs. So if you have stuff left over, kind of sweep it all together and then put it in the bottom. That way it mixes with your ash, and later on you can take that out and bury that. Okay, so we're going to work with our pendulum now for the second part of our ceremony. And remember that the Imbolc period of time is about planning your footsteps, planning your trajectory, giving yourself a little bit of direction, which is why we put fluoride in the sacrament, right? And so it's about really helping yourself understand what your next steps are going to be. So I want you to hold your pendulum with your writing hand. I'm right-handed, so this is my writing hand, but whatever your writing hand is. And remember that a north-south response from your pendulum is yes, and an east-west response from your pendulum is no, and it will change on its own. If you've asked it one question and the answer is yes, and then you ask it another question, it will change from yes to no, but you have to give it a minute. And then it will show you, it's already starting to show me, this one's very responsive to me, what maybe looks like, or not right now. Get it up. It's hard to hold my hand up high like that, but it will go around. You can kind of see it doing that now. That's maybe, or not right now. And then it just went back to yes. Okay. So yes, no, I don't know. Ask me later. those are the typical responses that you're going to get. Okay. By the way, when my team sends you a pendulum, we always ask it if it wants to go to you. And we only choose the ones that say yes. So if you've ever gotten a pendulum from SG, it means it said yes to you. And hopefully you got one and you said yes to it too. Okay, so let's begin with the first question. The first question I want you to ask tonight, then you're welcome to ask your own questions too. This is just me, what I'm guiding you through for Imbolc. The first question is there anything I need to know that I don't know right now about 2020? It says yes. I like that answer, because if I thought I knew everything, I think I would worry about getting bored this year. Okay, so now what we will do is I'm going to drum for just a minute or two while you listen for messages about what you don't know now that you need to know about 2020. All right. Did you get something good? Did you receive any guidance about what you don't know that you need to know about 2020? All right, and you can always go back and either rewind and replay that or just close your eyes separately, pause it here, and continue to listen. If you dropped in nicely and you want to stay there, you are more than welcome to stay there. You stay there as long as you want. The second question, if you're ready to move on, is will I begin something new in 2020? And feel really welcome there to insert your own question. Maybe you want to ask, am I going to write a new book, or am I going to have a new baby, or am I going to, encounter or begin a new relationship, or am I going to find a new friend this year? So you can specify that question too, or you can just leave it general and just say, is something new coming? Ready? Personalize your question. Mine's obviously a big yes, which is fun. And yes, the pendulums will tell you no sometimes. You may not like it, but they will tell you no sometimes. Okay, now, if you're ready to, I'm going to drum for 2 more minutes, and let's get some clarity right here about what the new is. Ready? So what does your new look like? You excited about it? And remember, sometimes the messages are subtle. You know what I mean? Like maybe you see a bird, or maybe you smell something, or maybe you get like a chill up your spine. But stay there. You know what I mean? Like keep asking, keep sort of looking in, because as you continue to push into your visions, then you'll get another vision. They're like breadcrumbs sometimes, how they sort of line up together. So be patient, and also really like be open to being communicated with in maybe ways that are more subtle than you're used to, if that makes sense. All right. Now, I want you to take a moment. You know, this is sometimes we do ceremony and we kind of we get busy doing in ceremony, drumming, lighting, crafting, and all of those things are beautiful and they're important, right? And especially because, you know, stones represent earth and candles represent fire, the oils represent water, you know, and the smoke represents air. And so when we work with all these ceremonial tools, we really are sort of calling in and holding and anchoring the directions. But one of the most important things to do is really spend at least a minute in the embodiment, in the practice, in the experience of what today represents, which isn't always the most fun part of ceremony, but it's also a very, very important part of ceremony. So for me, I'm a very visual person. I process visually sometimes. When I have a vision of something, like if you describe something to me, it's much easier for me to understand it. And so I'm going to look at the art that Gabriel created, and really, if you have the art too, gaze into, you know, toward the eyes and focus on the face of the woman who's representing Bridget tonight and that inner fire. And I want you to feel that energy tonight. You know, she is Bridget in many ways. She is the goddess of the fire, especially that inner fire, that inner hearth, that, you know, that force within you that can't be defeated. You know, that part of you that gets up and tries again and gets up and tries again. Like that's what I'm talking about in you. And that is there, even if you've buried it under years of silence and snow and ice. There is a fire goddess in you. There is. And I don't care if you're male or female, because men, this is your feminine. And you have a fiery inner feminine too, as much as women do, right? It's not a male-female thing. It's a human thing. And so I'm really speaking to all of you tonight, whoever might be watching. Where is that feminine, that divine passion within you? The soft, tender passion, but it's also strong. And how do you get back to that? You know, that's keeping in touch with what we're doing tonight. The energy that you feel right now, keeping in touch with this is what keeps you young. When we lose touch with that inner fire, when we can't find her anymore, right? That's when we start to age and sort of dry up and wither a little bit, you know, because she's fiery and juicy and she's alive, right? And so stay in touch with her, track her, locate her, stay in dialogue with her, and ask her what she needs and give it to her, you know, like, in as much as you can, provide that furnace for her, you know, so that she has a warm container in you to stay alive, you know, even during the dormant seasons. And so, Bridget, to that beautiful Imbolc goddess, we call upon you tonight. We seek the connection with you within each of us. And this really, you can put your hand over your solar plexus and your sacral and feel that furnace. Yes, light that fire. Don't lose touch with that. I don't care how old you are, you know, don't lose touch with that. It's easy. I mean, if you're in your 20s right now, you might not even know what I'm talking about. But if you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s with me, like, you start to know what that's about. So stay there. You don't, you know, and if you're younger, remember this for one day, because you, my friend, will get there too. And so tonight we honor this turning of the great wheel. We honor that inner fire. We give thanks for it. We seek to tend it. We seek to nourish it and nurture it. And Bridget, we ask that you move through us this evening and help us to reconnect with and rekindle that flame, so that we can burn brightly with passion and with enthusiasm and excitement for everything that we are building and creating and doing in the season of growth ahead. Do you feel her? Right? And do you feel with that liminal space that, you know, it's like living on the border between worlds, and what a magical place this is to inhabit. And how perfect it feels, honestly, just to have this single white flame. You know, Bridget's color is white, white and green. And so we did the candle in white to honor Bridget. But if there's something really, you know, sometimes we have bigger candles and like lots of things, and there's something really simple and elegant about what we did tonight together. I hope you've enjoyed it, because I really, really have. It's beautiful, and I think you'll use that medicine in so many ways, even I'm sure other ways beyond what I've described to you tonight. And so we call upon you tonight, Bridget, for healing. Heal our bodies, minds, and spirits in this season of winter and rest, so that we can come into spring feeling strong and ready for all that lies ahead. We ask for healing of our bodies, our minds, our spirits. We ask for healing in our communities and healing across our planet. Healing between people, between countries and nations. We ask for healing across continents. And we give thanks for the fire that you bring and that you represent and that you light within each of us. A source of inspiration and illumination, so that we can emerge with ease and grace into the spring season ahead. And together we say, Amen, Aho, and so it is. Amen, Aho, and so it is. Do you feel connected with her? I hope so, because I do want you to feel that. I want you to not just think about it or, you know, make the stuff for it or whatever, but I want you to really take it internally on the embodiment level to think, so what does that actually mean for me? You know what I mean? If I'm going to inhabit this Imbolc space, this Bridget space, right? What does it actually require of me? And so that's really what I wanted you to experience tonight. Is it's time to slither a little bit. So hopefully you feel slithery. So I'm going to extinguish my candle for now. I will relight it when I will have more time to watch it burn safely while I'm working. And then once I'm done, like I said, once all of the wax has burned down and over, then you can begin to use your sacrament and add anything to it that maybe you didn't have tonight. So you can still add to it. I do recommend adding to your bottles during the waxing phase of the moon and not during the waning. Waning is when we empty bottles, waxing is when we fill them. So that's just kind of good protocol and practice if you're new to magics. Okay. Whew. So I want to release the guardians of the beautiful gateways who came forward tonight to witness us, to be present with us. So thankful to the guardians of the north, in whose season we rest right now. We thank you for your steady strength and presence, patience, guardianship, and guidance in our lives. Thank you for teaching us how to slow down and trust the process and surrender really deeply to both the joys and the challenges of our lives. We give thanks for the guardians of the north. And then to the guardians of the west, water gateway, guardians of the west, we thank you for bringing emotional healing and purification tonight, for helping us to honor the ebb and the flow of energy and life. So thankful to the guardians of the west for teaching us how to nurture ourselves, how to bring in that maternal energy, that loving, unconditionally loving energy. We give thanks to the guardians of the west and release them from the ceremony space tonight. To the guardians of the south, we thank you and release you tonight. Thank you for helping us move forward as we begin to enjoy these longer days and shorter nights ahead of your season of summer. Guardians of the South, thank you for teaching us how to change and transform, but to do that in a graceful and a beautiful way that honors not only our present, but our past and our future. We give thanks and release you with gratitude. And then Guardians of the East, thank you for creating spaciousness tonight in our ceremony. Thank you for teaching us how to breathe, how to embrace a new cycle, a new phase of a cycle, a new decade, a new year. There's so many new portal ways opening, Guardians of the East, and thank you for being good guides and guardians and keepers of those portals and helping us to move through them in a brave, good way. We thank you so much, and we release you from ceremony space this evening. And with that, our circle is complete. And another Imbolc ceremony 2020 for us is in the books. I hope you enjoyed this one. Every year it's slightly different. We're always trying to approach it from a different direction to give you something new and interesting to think about and new perspectives. But the energy of this day never changes. And whether you know it as Candlemas or St. Bridget's Day or Imbolc, it's all the same holiday. It's all a way of honoring the fact that we are about to leave winter's grasp and head toward one of my favorite seasons of the year, which is spring. So thank you for being here. May you be blessed in all that you do in the coming days and weeks and months as we prepare to turn the wheel towards spring. Keep your mat, because like I said, we're going to be using this mat again. This is your mat not only for Imbolc, but for the Spring Equinox and for Beltane as well. So, aho everybody, and on you go. Imbolc blessings to you. I'll see you soon.